Welcome to Grazing Hell, the one and only podcast made by a cow. And today I've got my first second-time guest. Isn't it an honour?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I didn't realise I was the first one.
Second-time. Jordan, Theresa.
I'm back by popular demand,
I cannot
girls.
stress how the reception on your episode,
Oh my
Jordan,
god, stop. I read so many.
I know, they were so nice. They were like, you two have amazing chemistry. You should do a podcast together. And I was like, well, that starts with another episode. So we're doing another episode today.
Yay!
And if you are listening, you are missing out on Jordan's amazing outfit today. Do you want to describe what you're wearing?
So I'm wearing pink. Oh, it's velour. I'm wearing a pink velour tracksuit and a little white vest, and I'm wearing pink trainers as well. It's very much sort of Playboy Bunny, Y2K, Paris Hilton vibes.
I love it so much.
And I feel very cute today. It's just my casual clothes as well. It's just my casual clothes. This is my comfies. I'm just wearing my comfies today.
Who says you can't look glam and be comfy?
Exactly. And I got it in the sale for like 30 quid.
It's giving me juicy couture vibes, you know, those velour.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love those.
And you know what? Good investment, because I literally wear tracksuits every day.
Exactly. Oh, same.
Very happy.
Exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, they look amazing.
Thank you.
But yeah, today we're talking about a very fun topic, which is the question of whether you can date someone across the political aisle. And I have a feeling of what Jordan's answer is going to be.
Should we say it at the same time?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, no. No!
That's my answer too.
No, never.
Thing is, we're going to talk about it, and then I think at the end...
I just realised we both just completely agree.
We're not even having a debate.
Exactly, it's going to be the most simple dead end podcast. No, end of the podcast. Should we just wrap it up now?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I've got funnily enough, I've got some... things that you might disagree on with a person, and I'm going to list them, and then I'm going to say, if someone disagrees on these things, is that a deal breaker? And you say yes or no. So specific issues, not just the whole, are they a Tory? But, because obviously that is kind of,
Okay.
So things you might disagree on: human rights issues, LGBTQ rights, abortion access, etc.
Deal breaker.
Yeah. Same. Importance of voting. I think that's more grey, do you not think?
Well, I used to date someone who didn't vote.
Wow.
Yeah. To be fair, it was before I was always very left-wing, and I always voted Labour. But it was before I was fully into politics.
Okay.
But I used to date someone that didn't vote. Oh god.
Did they know much about politics, or was that why they didn't vote?
Basically it was the mentality of they're just as bad as each other. My vote doesn't make a difference type thing.
Which is understandable.
So clearly it wasn't a deal breaker back then, but I feel like it would be more of a deal breaker now. But I feel like at the moment, the political climate with the direction that Labour's going in, a part of me doesn't even want to vote now either.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And it's not even the whole I hate Keir Starmer, because we all get it.
We do.
Because we all do.
He's a
and
cop.
I get that it's he's a cop and I hate him and all this, but Labour's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Incredibly
to
transphobic.
The point where incredibly transphobic, so pro-police, especially, the fucking audacity for Labour ministers to be pro-police and be vocal about it after all this stuff with the trial of Sarah Everard is coming out. I think it's fucking disgusting. I'm read the fucking room. Sorry, I'm already getting annoyed about it. But it's read the room. How dare you?
No, I agree.
Basically it's getting to the point where at the moment I don't even want to go out and vote for Labour. I will, or maybe vote Green, I'm not sure. But
that's the
I just
thing, yeah.
It's just getting to
But Green are also have loads of transphobes in. I mean, they didn't win the leadership election, but I think it might just be that we're Turf Island. It might be that.
Yeah, and it's just getting to the point where it's and the only reason that I'm going and voting out Labour at the moment is so that school kids can get fed.
But the thing is, they're not...
because majority of Labour people always vote pro for the free school meals and stuff.
I was going to say something, then I realised that this is part of the problem of apathy. I was going to say, but Labour just aren't going to win. But then it's like, no, if everyone says that and doesn't vote for them, then...
Yeah, exactly. But
so
also it's
still
like,
need to vote.
Labour is so down in the polls. Like, no, I don't actually ever think I've seen it this bad before. No. And they'll always do the thing like, oh, yeah, no, it's the after Corbyn effect. And I'm like, how did you manage to spin it and blame my man Jeremy Corbyn? How dare you?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, so that's a grey area, I think, especially with how the Labour Party is at the moment. That's definitely a grey area for me. But I don't like it when people are like, well, you know, like when there was someone like Jeremy Corbyn in power who like would really wanted to make a difference, people were like, oh, I don't want to vote, I don't care. That's a deal breaker
a bit
for
different,
me.
Isn't
when
it?
people say they don't care, they're like, I don't care. Like, I don't care
because it doesn't
politics.
affect their lives personally.
That's a little bit more of a deal breaker for me. But when it comes to people that are like, oh, they're just as bad as each other, especially with how the political climate is at the moment, with the fact that Labour is just Tory light, then I have a little bit more leeway for that.
If someone didn't vote as a political statement and was very politically active, like they were active in their community and that kind of thing, I don't think I would take issue with that.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah, no, I follow a few people on Twitter who say that they're not going to vote Labour because they don't actually agree with what they're doing at the moment with their conscience, and I completely understand that.
That's valid, and they're politically engaged.
Exactly.
Right?
The only reason I might vote for them, probably will. I'm not going to vote Tory.
No,
it's just the only reason that I will go and vote Labour is because it's just the lesser of two evils.
Yeah,
that's it, and that's a shitty way to vote, because before it was like when Jeremy Corbyn was in power, obviously the party wasn't perfect, but like it felt like it was really going in the right direction.
Policy-wise,
and it's like,
definitely.
You know what I mean? And it was just very nice to be able to go out and like actually vote and be happy with your vote and be like, yeah, and be really like almost motivated. Now it's like, oh god, yeah, no, I guess I'll vote for Labour because I don't want Tories to win.
Yeah, it's just the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, basically. So deal breaker if they don't care, leeway if it's sort of how the political climate is at the moment, where there isn't really too much of a difference.
I would absolutely agree with that. I would agree with that. So my next one is fiscal issues, tax cuts, minimum wage, student debt.
Deal breaker.
It is for me too.
It's a huge deal breaker. I hate people. I got into a huge row with my dad the other day over the minimum wage thing. I hate people that don't want. Why don't you want to hire minimum? You're not like, yeah, no, we all pay tax. But like, it's not you're acting like you're personally paying their wages. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
And it really, that's a huge deal breaker for me. Huge deal breaker.
You know, I was talking about this with someone the other day. I think this is something we overlook a bit too much. Fiscal, I don't know, like on fiscal issues. Obviously, if someone is socially conservative, like on human rights issues, it's more obviously egregious. Like when you meet someone who says, I don't believe in gay rights, that's like obviously more like inflammatory and like overtly offensive. But if you think about it, if someone says like, I'm for, I don't know, cutting school meals, that kind of thing, like that is a fiscal thing. Or sort of like austerity policies, like with benefits and that kind of thing, it might not seem as like quickly inflammatory. It's not as obvious as, okay, this person is like homophobic or hates the poor or whatever. But then if you think about it, it's like, that is kind of the logical step. It's like, okay, this is literally going to hurt people in poverty.
No, it really grinds my gears. And I think the reason that grinds my gears so much is because I think that the reason why I feel like it's classed as a fiscal issue, but it kind of isn't.
Okay.
I feel like it's like this country, especially, I don't know what the situations are like in other countries, but I feel like the UK specifically is so rampantly classist. I've actually never seen anything like it. Like to the point where people who come and move here, Americans who come and move here, I've seen so many TikToks of Americans going, yeah, no, I was really shocked about how classist this country is. Really? And I feel like classism is, you know, the same sort of, it's the same like human rights as, you know, racism and homophobia and all of this. Like it's on that list. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like when you're doing something like, oh yeah, no, but like I believe in austerity policies and all of this, but it's just like a fiscal issue. I don't see it as that. I see it as like, oh, you want to purposely hurt people who are poor.
Right.
Like that, and that's a group of people, in my opinion. That's a group of people who are struggling, and that's what, and especially with, what do you call it, with classism, it intersects so much with race and gender, and the fact that austerity policies will affect poor people of colour the most, and poor women the most, and poor women of colour the most. I feel like when people sort of try to dress it up as like, oh yeah, no, it's just like, I just agree with austerity policies, it's just, we don't have all this money for the budget. It's like when you look into it deeper, I feel like I'm not making much sense.
No,
but I feel like when you look into it deeper, you realise that, it affects poor people, it affects ethnic minorities, it affects immigrants, and
single parents,
and especially single mothers. Like with Margaret Thatcher's policies back in the 80s, oh my god, she completely shafted single mums. Like never. And I read this book called Feminism Interrupted. Amazing book, and it's basically, there was this whole section about how the austerity policies really affect single mums, and like even things like, what do you call it, immigration policies, they'll put, there's obviously like women only immigration like centres before they'll go and deport them, and there's like really high rates of sexual abuse from the workers and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like even though on a first glance it just seems like a fiscal issue about like, oh, we don't have enough money to go around the budget, all of this resources, stuff like that. When you actually look into it, it becomes like a massive human rights issue, which is why I'm so passionate about, like, if I ever, like, I would never ever date anyone who was like believed in austerity policies. Oh yeah, and stuff. Same. Yeah, no. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
Sorry, I went a little bit of a tangent.
No. I think that's a really good point, and I think what you said about the framing is that perhaps the issue is that we should stop framing a lot of issues as fiscal issues and reframe them, and perhaps like the branding is the issue. People can distance if it's like, oh, it's about money, it's not about people. Yeah, and it's like, well, once you admit that it is about people, it's a bit harder to justify.
Yeah,
isn't
no,
it?
Especially when you realise that a lot of the policies are really classist and, will affect a lot of people of colour and stuff. Like, you may be like, oh no, I'm not racist, but I agree with austerity policies, which will mostly affect poor immigrants and people of colour and all of this. And it's just like, well, yeah.
Yeah,
do you know
exactly,
what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So next one is environmental issues, fracking, climate change, all that malarkey.
Oh,
and by the way, I'm not saying someone who's like a complete climate change denier, because I think that's a bit more egregious, but maybe someone who, I don't know, is more apathetic about it, or perhaps when you meet people who are like, I believe the climate is changing, but
okay, if they're like someone that's like, oh, the climate changing, that's normal, and we'll bring up the ice age and stuff.
I guess that is denial.
All right,
that's
a little bit like, all right, you're a little bit stupid. And I especially, okay, so it's a deal breaker in a sense where if you just don't care, then I feel like that's sort of like out, like people like that is very much sort of like, oh, out of sight, out of mind. Yes. That's a deal breaker for me. People that just don't care, because a majority of these climate issues affect people in overexploited countries.
Yeah, they're being hit first.
Exactly. So that's definitely a deal breaker for me. But I feel like it ranges when it's someone like, because like obviously people can try their best and everything, but one thing which, oh god, I feel like I'm being a bit controversial. Ooh. One thing which kind of gets under my skin a little bit is when all of the responsibility is put in individuals at the moment, and I don't like it.
I literally read a book about this. It's called On Fire by Naomi Klein, and it's literally all about the fact that individual actions are not enough. Like, we could, if we were all perfect recyclers, that would barely do anything. It's we need to completely change our economy.
Exactly.
And the issue is that economy will have to move away from a capitalist economy, and no one wants that.
Exactly.
So, and that's the thing. We need a complete restructuring of society. It's an institutional problem.
Yeah. So that's what I find a little bit frustrating, is like, people will think that you're a bad person if you use disposable masks and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, no, but there's like the real issue here is all of these, you know, huge factories and all these huge companies and capitalism and billionaires. And it's like, sometimes I can't help the fact that I need to use a disposable mask every now and again. I try my best. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't drive. I take, but also like, I don't believe on shitting on people who drive.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, especially if like, we're very lucky. We both live in London. We live in, you know, the what's it called, public transport capital of the world, where we can get around anywhere on a bus or a tube or anything like that. But like, if you don't live in a place with good public transport, I'm not going to shit on people who drive. I don't even shit on people who drive in London.
No.
It's just, so like, it's a deal breaker if someone doesn't care, but also I'm not going to be like on someone's arse if they aren't like 100% economically friendly. Do you know what I mean? Like, even something like consuming fast fashion, I still consume fast fashion. My focus with fast fashion is more on like, I'm consuming less. Like, this is fast fashion, but I'm going to wear this for probably about 3-4 years, to be honest. Like, I'm going to get use out of this. Like, that's what I focus on. Obviously,
it's not a one time.
Yeah, exactly. I shop sustainably a lot of the time as well. I shop a lot of small businesses and stuff. And I try my best, but a lot of the time I will buy, not a lot of the time because I don't buy fast fashion that often, but when I do buy fast fashion, I buy fast fashion out of convenience. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I literally saw this in the shop and I was like, oh great, it's 30 quid, I'm going to buy it. I'm probably going to wear this for about 3-4 years.
Yeah. If you don't believe in climate change, if you deny it in any way or form, you're out. However, if it's a question of apathy for mental health reasons, like, I think sometimes, because everything is so important, nothing is important. And it's really like, for example, I feel as if, unfortunately, I am more engaged with social issues than environmental. I do try to not contribute terribly to the environment, but like, in terms of my life priorities,
something that's so out of like, even though if we all like did X, Y, and Z, then it would reduce. But I feel like it's something which is so out of our reach that like there's not necessarily no point, but like I try not to get too stressed or worked up about it, because as an individual there's nothing which I can really do to help. Do you know what I mean? Like, I try my best. I recycle. I keep my clothes for a long time. I try to, I still shop fast fashion out of convenience, but like, I will try my best to shop sustainably and all of this, you know. I try to reduce my plastic, but like, I'm not going to stress myself out over being a perfect person, because at the end of the day, I barely make a dent. Is that harsh? No,
I think I agree. And I think that's what's so depressing about it, because I think it's the sense of powerlessness. I know people that are incredibly, amazing with their environmental sort of actions and that kind of thing. And I do think when it comes to that, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I think your best thing is activism and trying to influence policy, because frankly, recycling ain't going to do shit. Because it's great that we recycle, but what does the UK do? We send all our recycling to countries like Indonesia, where they can't handle it all. And
oh my God,
it ends up on the beach. Sorry, that's really depressing.
Oh my God, now I'm getting stressed up on my recycling.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
but fine. I'm just saying that, like, it feels hopeless. Like, I was literally talking to someone the other day. She said when she was in Indonesia, she saw a Tesco milk bottle.
OMG.
And I just wanted to cry.
Oh my God.
Like, on the beach. I was like, this is such a fucking mess. I can't. So anyway, let's move on to the next point before we cry about existential.
We just went into a big circle there of like, wait, but can I do anything right? I guess not.
Exactly. How the government is handling COVID-19 in general, like because it's become politicised. So stuff about COVID.
If they're straight up anti-vax, like anti-lockdown, anti-vax, then that's a deal breaker for me. Because, it sounds bad, I feel like it's just like a bit, are you being serious? Because like, you can't be anti-lockdown and anti-vax. What do you want? What do you want? Do you know what I mean?
They just want to be difficult.
It's just one of those things where it's like, you harp on about being anti-lockdown, how we should get us lockdown. It's like, yes, I'm not anti-lockdown because lockdowns work. But like, I'm very much like, yes, we need to do what we can to get out of lockdowns, because it's not good for people's business.
No one likes lockdown.
It's not good for your health. I miss my friends.
Yeah.
Done. But it's people that are like, oh, yeah, no, I'm anti-lockdown, but also I'm not going to put this random vaccination in my body. It's like, what do you want then? Do you know what I mean? I hate the people that are like, oh, we should just let people die, natural selection. That's a deal breaker because that's just horrible.
That's just
Darwinism. Really horrible.
It's also just, it's like, what makes you think? I think that the people that say that think that it's going to be because they don't care about chronically ill people or older people. Anyone who's immunocompromised, they're like, yeah, I don't give a shit. So obviously that's ableist, but they think it won't happen to them. And it's like, I'm reading about like 30-year-old mothers going into labour and then dying from COVID.
Exactly.
And them having to save the baby, sometimes not being able to. So
awful.
It could be anyone. Like, I don't care how young and fit and healthy you are. Like, we're none of us are safe.
And also, sorry, your mum, your grandma, your granddad.
Do you not give a shit about your old people?
Dead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, no. So people like that, really, that's a massive deal breaker for me. But I feel like when it comes to, see, now I'm a bit stumped because, like, I think that the government put, like, if I was on a date with someone and I was like, yeah, no, I think the government put the UK in lockdown way too late. We should have done sort of the Australian model of, you know, closing all the borders so we could at least live our lives until, you know, a vaccination was around. And if they said something like, oh, no, I disagree, I think we should keep flights open for the economy or whatever. And I think that, you know, these lockdowns are the best that we can do right now with wanting to keep the country open. Then I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, I guess we just disagree on that.
Yeah, so you both want to combat, you admit that there's a pandemic, you don't deny that there is one, but you just have different ideas about how to get out of it. Yeah. I agree with that. I think I would agree with you there. So when we go through our list, human rights, it seems as if ours was an emphatic deal breaker. Importance of voting was a bit more grey, I think. Fiscal issues, we were both quite emphatically no. Environmental issues, I would say it was like 90% a deal breaker, but there was like a little bit of leeway maybe.
Well, yeah, I have more leeway for people that are like, oh, you know, like, I'm doing what I need to do, but they're not going to like actively.
Yeah, they're not Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
Right, cool. And then COVID-19, again, it's as long as if the basic premise, you believe it's a thing and you want to help people and you care about chronically ill, immunocompromised people, but you just may disagree on how to. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Liking this.
Yeah.
So speaking of, you were saying on a date, and I thought that was interesting because I do think this whole question is different when you're talking about going on a date, having a friend with benefits versus spending your life with someone. If there was, okay, maybe I'm a terrible person, but if there was someone really hot who was like, I don't know, I can't think of an example, but like, if there was someone...
If they were hot on a Tory, would you shag them? I'm straight up no.
No, because I don't feel like they deserve this.
I'm the exact same. I have this whole thing where it's like, I will not have sex with you if you don't have the same politics as me.
Yeah.
Like I'm
okay,
very strict on it down to a T. Like, because basically when me and my boyfriend met, my now boyfriend, we weren't exactly like dating when we first saw each other. You guys know what I'm saying. So you know what I mean. I went around his house to have sex with him. There we go. And basically, I remember before I went, because we were gonna have like drinks in his garden and stuff and whatever. So we were still like, you know, like wanting to get to know each other. But basically, I went on his Twitter and I like aggressively stalked all of his tweets, and he retweeted a lot of good social justice politics stuff, and I was just like, perfect. Like he's me and him have the exact same politics, like down to a T.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's nice. I think, see, this is the thing, and we'll go into this in depth because I've found some like little figures that I think politics has become much more important in dating than it did for years. So a lot of dating coaches and sort of dating agencies are saying that it wasn't really a point of concern for their clients, whereas now people are saying that it's deal breaker. So for example, so I found a survey from dating.com which found that 84% of singles said that they would not even consider dating someone with opposite political views, while 67% admit ending relationships due to political views. Now that is interesting, the latter, because it's like, this is why I think, and I say this with anything, be as fussy as you want when it comes to dating, because you know when people say like, oh, it's silly to get the ick over a guy wearing a certain shirt and stuff, and it's like, if you get into a relationship with someone and those are the things that give you the ick, it's like you've wasted their time. They've wasted your time.
Yeah.
Like when people say, oh, it's a bit weird to bring up whether you want kids on the first few dates. I actually don't think it is, because
No, not at all.
you don't want to fall in love with someone and then a year down the line you'd be heartbroken because you have to break up. You shouldn't pressure someone who doesn't want kids to want kids, and vice
feel like
versa.
It's normal to lay it all out right at the beginning.
Don't
like,
waste
I've
your
always
time.
said to my boyfriend when I realised I didn't want kids that I do not want kids.
Okay,
I was just
great.
like, obviously it could change. You never know. I'm only 22.
But he needs to be okay with that.
Yeah, and I said to him, I was just like, are you all right with this? Like not wanting kids, because he always makes jokes like, oh, you know, when we have children with us, he was like, yeah, no, he's not fussed either way if we have kids or not.
Okay.
So I did say to him, I was like, you do realise I really don't want children.
Yeah.
And he was fine with, like, do you know what I mean? We lay things out like that. We make sure it's not an issue. Because you don't want to realise, oh God, like, yeah, I hear these stories on Reddit about these people who go to like IVF places and the husbands will give the doctor a pot of water and say, can you not just inseminate her with that? I don't want kids.
No.
Yes. I saw it on Reddit. Might have not been true. But it happens a lot. Like a lot of dads will go to IVF clinics and be like, is there something that can you fake it? Like, I don't want children. It's always the dads.
And it's frustrating because it's like you're wasting her time. Like, she can't do this forever. Like, there's a deadline on fertility. Just be honest and upfront about it.
Exactly, because if you think about sort of the way that relationships go, obviously like people have children outside of relationships, people are single parents, stuff like that. But like, what do you call it? The way that sort of a typical relationship will go is you'll date for 6 months maybe, then you'll be an official couple for a few years. Depending on your views, you might want to get married first. Then you'll spend 2 years planning a wedding. And let's say you're 30 when you meet them, and by the time that you're married, you're 35, maybe 36. So it's like, you know, if you're with someone and you're then you get married and then you realise you don't want children, oh my God.
Yeah.
Then you have to do the process all over again.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you just got to be upfront. Here's an interesting one. It's more important to young people. According to new research by Match, 35.5% of 18 to 24-year-olds think politics is important in relationships. That's actually a bit lower than I thought, but...
Yeah, that is lower, but also I feel like the people that we probably follow on social media are all really politically conscious.
So I guess we feel like it's more important.
So we feel like it's more people, but like I'm sure if we went to a bar or a club, there'd be loads of people that are like, yeah, no, I don't really care.
So this is something I forgot to ask earlier on our list of deal breakers. Would someone voting Brexit be a deal breaker?
Ooh. Depends on the reason they were voting.
Okay.
I feel like some people, not a lot, but some people voted because of the big NHS bus. You know, when they said that they would be sending money to the NHS. And I think that some people voted based on the fact that they believe that the UK should be an independent country and we shouldn't have to constantly go to the EU for approval on things. Like the vaccination got approved here really quickly because we didn't have to approve it through the EU.
Yes, and we got it quicker.
And we got it super quickly.
Okay.
But I feel like a lot of people voted because they just didn't want immigrants So
Yeah.
that's icky. No.
Yeah.
That's more than icky. That's racist.
Yeah.
No. It would be a deal. It depends on the reason.
Okay,
in my
but it's not an
opinion.
outright deal breaker.
It's not an outright deal breaker,
That's
no.
interesting.
But if they were like, but also I feel like a lot of people voted when, I wasn't even old enough to vote when Brexit happened.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people my age or older voted in Brexit when they were about 18 and probably just voted what their parents voted.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people's politics change when they're 18. Not like when it comes to, if they used to believe in like racist policies and stuff.
Yeah, that's different.
That's different. But like when it comes to things like, oh, well, my dad said that the economy would be stronger if we voted out. So that's why I voted out.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So the reason I mention this is because it hasn't taken off, but there was a crowdfunder for a dating app for Remainers called Remainder. Isn't that just like the most cringe lib shit you've heard? Why are liberals so cringe?
Oh, God, that's so millennial, isn't it?
It's just so... It didn't take off because obviously it was like a very what's the word, current thing. It was like very of the moment. And I think this is another thing, like when a lot of the stuff I read was talking about how the whole politics and dating thing became a much more of a hot button issue when Trump was elected. So yeah.
To be fair, I think maybe we're underestimating how much of a big thing Brexit was. Because now that COVID's happened, I feel like nothing really compares to the political importance of how insane COVID was and the fact that, this country let loads of people unfortunately die by doing late lockdown and all of this. I remember, because I was a beautician when all this Brexit stuff was going on. I was in school when the vote happened, and then I was a beautician when it was all, when they said that we're leaving on this date, and then we'd never leave. And it's like, I remember talking about Brexit constantly with my clients. So maybe that's why the Remainder thing was a thing, because I feel like, what do you call it? I feel like it was such a huge thing at that moment until COVID came along and everyone was like, oh, it's still a big thing. Yeah. But like...
You know what is a thing of Brexit that's happening right now? We have a fuel and driving crisis, and that is because of Brexit. So
but also it's like, in that sense, I've seen a lot of people like, haha, I told you so. And I'm like... I feel like it's a little bit like when people are like, haha, I told you so, over like, oh, God, what a shame that we can't exploit Eastern European immigrants anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when people were like, haha, I told you so, like all of this, I'm like, I think I'd rather there be a shortage. I mean, I'm saying this because I don't drive. This issue doesn't affect me, but I feel like I'd rather there be a shortage of drivers and then pull their finger out of their arse and like actually decide to bring up their wages and stuff, rather than just carry on exploiting Eastern European people. But also, what do you call it? They aren't actually... I thought they would change the wages, but they're not. They're just changing the policy.
Exactly.
I was just like, that's awful.
They will do anything to avoid actually paying people more.
I hate it here. I hate it here.
Exactly. So what's really interesting is that in older couples, it is less important. And like when all the things I saw which were saying, oh, it can make it work, it tended to be older couples, like boomers, right? So for example, there are these quite high profile political consultants in America, Mary Matalin and James Carville. And basically, so Mary Matalin is a libertarian, and James Carville is like quite a high profile Democrat political consultant.
What's a libertarian?
Libertarians in America, it's kind of been misconstrued. It wasn't originally this, but now libertarian has come to mean someone who's like, no government, guns, all that shit.
Oh. So was a libertarian like someone who broke into the White House?
Yes, yeah.
So
some
people are libertarians.
Yeah, Tea Party. Do you know? Are you that familiar with the Tea Party? They're like really. I feel like they're a step further than Republicans.
Okay.
Hello, this is Editing Tara here. I realised that I did not explain that very well, so I'm just gonna come back in and hopefully explain it a little better. So basically, libertarianism is a political philosophy that upholds liberty as the core principle, hence libertarianism. Basically, libertarians seek to maximize autonomy and political freedom. So they're very big on freedom of choice and individualism. Often libertarians have a skepticism of authority and state power, but there are some libertarians who are okay with some form of government. They just prefer it to be a bit limited. I found a quote from Murray Bookchin, who wrote The Ecology of Freedom, and he wrote, "Libertarian was a term created by 19th century European anarchists, not by contemporary American right-wing proprietarians." So you can see in the 19th century that the term libertarian was used in a lot of anarchist journals, both in the US and in Europe, particularly in France. But what has happened in the 20th century is that the term libertarian, especially since the 1970s, has kind of been co-opted by the right. And that's not to say you can't be a right-wing libertarian by default, but it was adopted by right-wing supporters of free market capitalism. So, proponents of anarcho-capitalism and laissez-faire capitalism, which basically means, unregulated capitalism. And, this often includes things like a removal of the welfare state. And the reason this gets sticky is that some libertarians will be very big on, the idea of private ownership and that kind of thing in terms of someone owning the company, keeping all profits, the classic capitalist model. Whereas if you are a communist libertarian, you would want the workers to seize the mean of their production, right? So, and that's kind of why it's gotten so confusing, because it was originally used by anarchists and communists. And if you were to describe yourself as a libertarian now, people might assume that you are, in fact, right-wing and are a proponent of the state controlling your body, for example. So, a fair few libertarians are very pro-life, which seems a bit contradictory, right? Because if you are very big on liberty and personal freedom, you wouldn't want the state getting involved in what you do with your body. So that's why people say that it has been co-opted, because it kind of is used by people that aren't necessarily consistent in what they want liberty for, right? Does that make sense? So yeah, that's kind of the point I was trying to make. Because US politics is so different from European politics, terminology is going to be used differently, but it gets confusing because we share a lot of the same media, right? We're all on the internet together, especially in the English-speaking world. So one person's use of the word libertarian can be very different to someone else's use, hence why it's so confusing. And you see this a lot with other terms like socialist, communist, whatever, yada yada. So yeah, that's it. I'm no expert, so please do take this with a pinch of salt, and yeah, enjoy.
So she's dating a Democrat.
Yeah, married.
Married.
They've been married for more than 25 years. And apparently they're secret. And this is something that I think might raise your eyebrow. They don't discuss politics at home. And here's the thing, all the articles I read, Jordan, which were like advice on how to date someone with different politics.
It was to not talk about
just avoid it. So, for example, I found a GQ article which said unfollow each other immediately on social media so you don't get in fights.
Normal.
Second, limit talking politics at home. Don't take it to the bedroom, don't have hate sex about it. And I'm just so basically avoid. You would not say this about any other relationship issue. You would never say, avoid talking about it. Yeah. Avoidance. Like when
let it grow and bubble under the... Yeah, no, that's
terrible advice.
That is really... And I find that, how do people do that? Because... Well, I feel like the way
if it's not important to you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because I feel like with me and my boyfriend, what do you call it? He's black. So he has to, things, obviously we both talk about issues of racism and stuff, but obviously it affects him, right? So it's very difficult to just imagine us just having a relationship where he just never ever mentioned the politics surrounding being black
and white privilege and stuff.
White privilege and stuff like that. That would just be bizarre. The same way that I whinge and moan about being a woman and stuff, and especially sort of all the stuff with I've been talking about the stuff with Sarah Everard with him, how much it's upset me and all of this, and we both obviously have we both hate police. I hated police before it came out about the Sarah Everard stuff anyway, because I knew that the police just abuse their power to abuse ethnic minorities and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I just find it absolutely bizarre that you can just go a whole relationship without talking about stuff like that, because politics shapes your life, it shapes your identity as a person. So I just find that absolutely crazy.
I feel like the people that can do this are people that aren't that engaged in politics, and are not a kind of, what's the word? Not a marginalised group. Because here's the thing. I feel like the people that would disagree would say, oh, well, not everyone makes everything about identity. And those people tend to be people that don't have like an identity that's being marginalised, right? So I don't know. I think it's telling that the people that seem very okay with this are boomers. I don't know. I just find it quite funny. Like, there was this thing I found, and it said that 30% of married couples contain a mismatched partisan pair. A third of those are Democrats married to Republicans, which is like, but they're quite similar.
They're so similar. I saw this TikTok the other day where so much random crap comes up on my For You page. But basically, there was this TikTok which said, like, you know, world leaders and their political leanings. And it said, Donald Trump, far right, Joe Biden, centre right. Which is true.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is a centre-right
He was against gay marriage. He's racist.
He doesn't agree with free... I feel like any politician that doesn't agree in universal healthcare is already leaning on the right.
Oh, of course.
In my opinion.
500%.
And like, there were so many American people in the comments like, oh my God, you said Joe Biden was centre-right? I'm like...
Yep.
Yeah.
It's because American politics is so out of touch, like, with the rest of the world. Like, a lot of terminology there doesn't mean what it actually means. So, for example, like when you say socialized healthcare, they say communism, and it's like, oh boy, you really don't know what's going on, do you? And I'm not saying like that for people who are actually informed in America, but unfortunately the discourse is just so fucked there.
Yeah. So to be fair, with old people, Democrats being able to take Republicans, I understand why they do that, because they're basically the same.
I think that's it. I think this works when you two are both like either wishy-washy centrists or establishment people. So like, for example, I think New Labour, like with Tony Blair, I think if you're someone like that, you could date a Tory, because Tony Blair was basically a Tory.
It's not any different.
Yeah. So whereas if you've got someone who's an anarchist versus someone who's like massively anti-choice, you know, who's like, let's just police women's bodies, you can go to jail for having a miscarriage or whatever, then that's a different thing, I think. Like, I read something, it was like, it said, if your girlfriend needs an abortion and you don't believe in that, it pretty much ends the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine being with someone who doesn't believe in abortion and you get pregnant.
Yeah, no, that knocks me sick.
Yeah, or someone who has like an unregistered semi-automatic gun and you don't believe in unregulated access to guns. You're sleeping next to someone with a gun like that.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think you need similar sensibilities.
You don't talk about it.
Exactly. And if you do talk about it and you can't come to an agreement, but you're willing to agree to disagree, fine. I just find that hard to... I mean, maybe this is because of our jobs and because of what we do, but like, I just find it hard to imagine just agreeing to disagree.
I'm trying to think of any time that me and my boyfriend have agreed to disagree on anything, but I don't think we have. Like, ever.
Yeah, I mean...
Because we literally have the exact same politics. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to do it. And also, it would massively give me the ick. I feel like, I know that, you know, politics is a lot deeper than the ick. I feel like I'm really simplifying it.
No, but it's interesting you say that, because I also found something that said this is in the UK, 17.5% avoid finding out political opinion on their date in case it changes their feelings towards them.
So you want to find it out at first. You don't want to give the privilege of your pussy or whatever sexual apparatus you use. Because I realise I've made that a bit woman-centric. Yeah. You don't want to give the privilege of your body to someone who like believes in a racist policy or something.
And I read something which I think really hit the nail on the head for me. This was on thegoodtrade.com. Your tendency to withdraw could likely be your intuition guiding you away from someone who you may not be compatible with. And I think that's a really good point. It's like, it gives you the ick for a reason. You're getting the ick for a reason. You're not
compatible.
It's your... And I would say this from personal experience. And let me just say that this person like was 17, 18 at the time. I don't know if they're still like this. And as you say, people are raised to be what they are. You know, I had a boyfriend in school who didn't believe in feminism. And at that time, yeah. And I was like at a very conservative school. Where I was from, like, voted Labour, but this school was in a Tory borough, and most people at my school were Tories, and I think I felt like a fish out of water anyway. And also, I wasn't very secure in myself. I think I was at that age where I was like, if a boy likes me, I will take it. Like, I was closeted bisexual, that kind of thing. He also didn't believe bisexuality was a thing.
Oh my God.
I know, Jordan. Jordan, I had, my standards were low. And I could never do that now. For me, that's a litmus test. If I'm on a date with a man who says he's not a feminist, or even a woman or a non-binary person, but like I feel like that would be unlikely. That's a no for me, because it's like, that says to me that you're insecure.
Yeah.
That says to me that you have some toxic masculinity.
It says to me that you're just really weird, and you've probably spent way too much time on Reddit.
Yeah.
And you're probably one of those guys that goes, oh my God, my biggest fear is being falsely accused of rape by a woman. What do you think my biggest fear is?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh, Brandon? What do you think my biggest fear is?
And it's like, sir, you're more likely to be raped.
I literally saying that in the video I upload tonight.
Oh,
because
really?
I talk about incels in the video and talk about like modern day misogyny.
I'm so excited.
And I literally said that. I literally went, I don't know why men are so scared of this, because you're more likely to be
assaulted. But they're probably the kind of people that don't believe men can be assaulted, which is just...
I know, it's bizarre, because I feel like men like that are also like, we should be vocal about our mental health.
Yeah.
But we'll also like agree with all these backwards things.
There's that meme that's like, it's, you know, the Eric Andre where he's shooting.
Yeah.
And it's like men's mental health. And then he turns around and he's like, feminist, why do you do this? And it's like toxic masculinity. And it's like, maybe it's toxic masculinity. Maybe the issue isn't people wanting equality for genders. The issue is the toxic masculinity, you know? So it's like, oh, women are making our mental health bad. And it's like, maybe it's saying that like not having a certain jawline means you won't find love. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe saying I'm never going to find love because I'm short.
Yeah. Maybe it's spending all of your time on Reddit with all these people speaking horribly about themselves and about you.
Yeah.
Like, I read this book, Men Hate Women by Laura Bates.
Yes. It's so
Have you read
good.
it?
Yeah. Well, I've not finished, but I've got it. Yeah.
Good book. And basically, have you seen the part where she's going on these, you know, she's found all this stuff on these incel forums. And it's just, maybe it's because you're spending time on a forum where people are telling each other to go and kill themselves.
Yeah, it's so toxic.
No?
Exactly.
But no. Feminism is the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just so anyway.
Like, my biggest ick is guys that are like that type of sort of casual misogyny is it's almost find that more of an ick than if you just said that you hated women,
because then at least you're self-aware.
Exactly. These people don't think that they're misogynistic, and it's the men that will, you know, bring up false rape accusations, men that, you know, will bring up their mental health when there's a focus on women's safety. Have you noticed that?
Yes,
I've noticed that, and it's like, I believe it's an important issue that we need to talk about, but, you know, it's a bit of a crazy coincidence that you've brought it up.
It's brought
now.
up in bad faith.
It is brought up in bad. It's brought up in bad faith.
Because it's like as if feminists don't believe in like caring about male mental health. Literally, the whole point is taking down like toxic gender roles that hurt everyone.
Exactly. I find that a lot more despicable than men who just say that they hate women.
Because then you know. Yeah. And they wouldn't want to date us anyway because we're crazy leftists.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather that than men that are like, oh no, I'm not a misogynist or anything, but like, oh my God, it's my biggest fear to be falsely accused of rape by a woman. It's just like, you're weird.
And you think like women are ticking time bombs that are just gonna... Yeah, exactly. It's really gross. And it's the unawareness. It's kind of like pick-me boys who like pretend to be feminists to sleep with women, you know, kind of just...
That's what my new video's about.
Yeah. It's gross.
I mentioned you in the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
It's okay. But yeah, no, that's just my
No,
2
I
cents.
agree. I mean, so... I was going to say, Jordan, now that we're more towards the end of the podcast, do we feel any differently?
No. If anything, I feel more strongly. If anything, I feel way more strongly.
I just think life is short. Why do you want to spend your days trying to convince someone that gay people deserve to live? Like,
at the end of the day,
energy.
it's just straight. Like if you put about it really, really simply, it's just incompatibility.
yeah,
It's not compatible.
and that's
You
okay.
wouldn't be with someone who, for example, a big thing of incompatibility is if you have different work schedules. One of you works nights, the other one works days.
Right.
You never spend time together. You wouldn't stay with someone like that because you're not compatible.
Right.
The same way that a lot of people, I mean, myself included, I'm not willing to do long distance. I mean, I guess it depends. If it was my now boyfriend,
Right.
then I would do it.
But you're already together.
But but we were already together. But like, if it was like, we just started dating, I would not do long distance.
Yeah.
Because
That's valid.
it's incompatible. Why is politics any different?
Yeah,
It's just incompatibility.
it's like you're expected. It's this whole like civility politics of like, oh, you're meant to just accept everyone's views and stuff, even if they're terrible views. And it's like, that doesn't mean I have to open up my body, my crevice, And this
I have to open my legs for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't owe you shit. So yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that we've kind of not only just not changed our minds, but we've become more adamant in our positions.
I've dug my heels in more now.
That's fine. That, you know what? Sorry, not sorry. Like that's my conclusion. Sorry, not sorry. No one's entitled to the goods, and I really do think life, in a way, life is too short. But also, Brenda said this recently. Brenda from God is Great. She said in a video about like an incel pastor. She was like, "Life is too long, like for his wife to put up with this shit." I was like, that's a really good point. Like,
life is too short, but also life is too long.
You have to like spend 24 hours a day with that man. Like, no, the effort. I just couldn't. So, to lift the mood up, do you want to tell the people where they can find you?
Okay, guys. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Jordan Theresa. And I guess you can find me on Instagram as well, which is Jordan A Theresa. And you can find me on Twitter, Jordan X Theresa.
Ooh,
and you can find me on TikTok, Jordan A Theresa.
Yeah, no, exactly. So go find Jordan, send us some love. You've got a video coming out tonight. By the time this comes out, your video will be a week old.
Which is all about Hugo from Love Island, how he's a pick-me,
No, I'm so excited. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Yeah, we can talk about him when we finish the podcast.
Hugo could have so easily become an incel if he didn't go on Love Island. That's basically what the video is about.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for this. Well, go check that out, everybody. We're gonna go now. We're gonna go.
Yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna go, hands.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Mwah, mwah, mwah.